Then you write about Ulaskar Dutt. Now, I want you to, I mean, this was, of course, that he was so severely tortured in cellular jail that he almost lost his mind. He talks about repeated electrocutions, and when those electrocutions were happening, he was thinking about Leela.
Yes, so I'll tell you the story.
Now, tell me the story about Leela because it is heartbreaking.
So, Ulaskar Dutt was the expert bomb maker in the first generation of the Anushilan Samiti. And after the Alipur bomb case, 1909, 1910, he's sent off to Kalapani. Now, as I told you, cellular jail wasn't just any old jail. It was designed to break people. And there were hundreds of these revolutionaries, and they were systematically put through torture, mental and physical. Now, after several years there, obviously, Ulaskar Dutt's health broke down. And he was severely ill at some point in time, running high fever. And he simply refused to run the oil mill, which was one of the ways they would force physical labor on them. And so the jail warden and his accomplices, said, no, he's just putting on an act, which is odd. You could always tell when somebody is running high fever. Anyway, so they drag him off and they begin to electrocute him. They tie him to a chair and they are electrocuting him. And he's screaming. And the rest of the jail can hear him screaming. And by the way, this is deliberate because he's being made an example of, right? So it's not like the British want to hide this. They want the rest of the prisoners to hear. And he keeps, through the electrocution, he keeps collapsing. So they wait for him to revive and again put him through this. And eventually he loses his mind. After days and days of going through electrocution, he loses his mind. The other prisoners, by the way, go on hunger strike and so on. And so finally, when the news of all of this begins to leak out, the British authorities decide, okay, we'll let him off, but he's lost his mind. So they send him off to Madras, now Chennai, to a mental asylum to recover. But it takes him many, many years to recover. Now, while he's doing all of this, do remember what is happening. What is keeping him sane? The image of Leela. So who is Leela? Leela was his college sweetheart, who was the daughter of Bipin Pal, another very famous nationalist.
Lal Bal
Pal era leader. So he's the Pal of the Lal Bal Pal. And was his classmate. And they were engaged to get married when he was arrested on the Alipur jail case. And so throughout all this torture, he sees this drifting image of Leela in front of him. And that's what that's the only thing that keeps him going through these years of first torture in jail, then this electrocution, this period of mental instability and all of that. And so he comes out after many, many years, when he recovers enough, and goes looking for Leela. And of course, he finds that Leela...
Which year are we talking about?
We are talking now many years...
Post-independence.
No, they are still well in the independence. Maybe in the early 1920s.
Correct.
So he goes off looking for Leela. And Leela, of course, had waited for him for many years, but he had gone off to cellular jail, no communications. She was unaware of all the tortures he went through. She was unaware what happened to him afterwards. And so after waiting for many years, she then decided maybe he had died or whatever, and she had married somebody else and was living in Bombay, now Mumbai. So Ulaskar Dutt is obviously sad, but what can he do? So he sort of drifts back and he still rejoins the revolutionary movement after all of this. Gets arrested, does various things. And then at the time of independence and partition, he's living in his village in East Bengal, in East Pakistan, and he becomes a refugee. So when he sort of becomes a refugee and he moves to now independent India, somebody tells him that Leela is now a widow and is paralyzed from waist down. So he hunts her down in Bombay and finds her, takes him with her to Assam, Silchar, where his family, or he sets up his new home, and marries her, and then looks after her till she dies.
Wow.
So eventually she did marry her.
What a love story, right? I mean,
absolutely. And you could not have made this up.
Yeah.
I mean, if I did this in a movie, people think it's just not believable, but this is a true story.